Hello everybody and welcome back to Screen Stars. I have another classic movie review for you today, and it is Chaplin, the movie that was directed by Richard Attenborough and tells the life story of the comic genius Charlie Chaplin, and it stars, get this cast list, it's got, let's have a look, Robert Downey Jr., Geraldine Chaplin, his daughter, Charlie Chaplin's, John Ford, Anthony Hopkins, Dan Aykroyd, Marisa Tomei, Penelope Ann Miller, Kevin Kline, Mila Jovovich, Kevin Dunn, Diane Lane, Nancy Travis, James Woods. It just goes on. An incredible cast list for this movie. And like I say, this is the biopic of the comedy actor stroke genius Charles Chaplin, who is portrayed in this movie by Robert Downey Jr. Now, for some people, maybe even you watching this, you might not have thought Robert Downey Jr. had a career before Iron Man, but he most certainly did. And for those of you that don't know, he was a very, very big star in the late 80s, early 90s, and this movie was the height of his fame at this period, and unfortunately it was probably close to the start of his downfall as well in regards to the troubles that he met in his life. And this film got him an Oscar nomination and fanfare around the world, and to be fair, it is an incredible performance. And for those of you who only really know Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark, you really do need to check some of his early work, especially this, because you see what an incredible actor Robert Downey Jr. really is. And as much as I love him as Iron Man and in the Marvel movies, I do think he needs to stretch his acting chops again a little bit, because he really does have an incredible range. So, like I say, this movie is directed by Richard Attenborough, and it is told from the perspective, if you like, of Charlie Chaplin when he's elderly. Anthony Hopkins plays a journalist who's trying to write his autobiography, and he's at his house in Switzerland. Charlie Chaplin's with Charlie Chaplin when he's in his 60s, 70s, I think. And they're trying to decide how they're going to tell the story. So it's told in that way. And when he's talking about a story, it shows it. And it's right from when he was a child, right up to when he was an entertainer in this country. And for those that don't know, Charlie Chaplin was born in this country, in England, and then he becomes fascinated, Charlie Chaplin, with what is called flickers, the very, very early start of cinema. When he's over, he gets invited to America to perform in America, and while he's there, he gets an invitation from a filmmaker who's played by Dan Aykroyd, who's seen his act, and he invites him to come and star in some of his flickers, his movie pictures. And when he turns up, Dan Aykroyd's like, "No, you can't be Charlie Chaplin. He was a elderly chap. He was the best drunk I ever saw." And when he puts the act on, he realizes, oh, it really was you, and he hires him on the spot, and he becomes a runaway success. Very, very quickly, sets up his own studios, directs his own movies, becomes a mega famous star. Becomes friends with Kevin Kline's character, who, let me just remind myself who Kevin Kline plays. It was, where are we? There we are. Douglas Fairbanks, of course. He played Douglas Fairbanks, and they were apparently good friends in real life, or so this film portrays. So it's a really good movie, this. I probably saw this movie when I was young. I mean, when this first came out, I would have been in my late teens, 18, 19 years old. I probably saw it around the time it came out. I remember feeling pretty underwhelmed with it, but at that point in my life, this sort of film had real no interest for me. But watching it again now, I can appreciate it in a whole new way. It is a very, very good movie. It doesn't really pull many punches, but it doesn't hit hard either. I think it's almost like if Disney made a Charlie Chaplin biopic movie, this would be it. It's kind of glazed over with a nice spray of maple syrup. You know, it kind of it doesn't focus on the negatives too much. It does mention them, you do see some parts of it, and it kind of moves on to the next stuff fairly quickly. So it focuses more on his successes, but you kind of do get to know about the negatives and the failures in his life, in his personal life, his love life, in his career. But the kind of rushed over, if you like. Um, it was it's really well made, but it's kind of got that 90s feel to it, the movie. Biopics these days have a much more crisper, cleaner tone to them. So it does have that kind of 90s sheen to it, this movie. The performances by everybody are outstanding. Um, Obviously, chief of which is Robert Downey Jr. He does a remarkable performance, really, right down to when he's dressed up as the tramp, Charlie Chaplin. Um, it It's incredible, really. He gets all the motions and everything right. It kind of does feel like it is Charlie Chaplin on screen. And it gives it a real big emotional punch as well right at the end, because it kind of finishes on a high when he was at the 1972 or 1975 Oscars, when he was invited back into the US to receive a special award at the Oscars, and he got like a 12-minute standing ovation. Which is a record to this day, apparently. So you kind of choke up a little bit at the end, because you knew that he finally got the respect that he deserved, Charlie Chaplin. So a very, very good movie, this. I do highly recommend it if you haven't seen it. It's, like I say, it's a little bit Disney-fied. It's not massively hard-hitting or anything, but it is interesting to watch if you know a little about his life. And I really enjoyed it, and I would like to see more of this from Robert Downey Jr. and not just Iron Man.